Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Alderman Kovac's community meeting to discuss the development proposal for 1540 North Jefferson. We're going to wait just a few moments to allow everyone else to join the meeting virtually. So thank you again for joining us this evening. I am Amanda Cervantes, Legislative Assistant for Alderman Nik Kovac. I'm just going to briefly go over format and function for tonight's meeting. All attendees are in listening only mode right now, and your microphones are muted. You will be able to participate tonight by typing any questions or comments in the question box on your screen. We will be monitoring these as they come in, and they'll be addressed in the question and answer portion of the meeting after the presentation. You will also have the opportunity to raise your hand to speak. Just click on the hand icon and I will unmute your microphone and announce your name. I would also like to note that this meeting is being recorded. At this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Alderman Kovac, and he will introduce the others presenting this evening.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you everyone for attending. It looks like, looking on my screen, there's about 10 neighbors in attendance, and then you're all going to be off camera the whole time, but we'll be able to turn your microphones on when you have questions or comments. You can see a number of panelists on the screen. That includes myself, as well as the developer, the architect, and at least 3 members of the Department of City Development, Sam, Greg, and Kristen. The applicant is Josh Delaney, and the architect is Jordan Nelson. I believe Jordan will be doing most of the presentation, but Josh will introduce him in a second. And I'll give everyone just a brief background on the purpose of tonight's meeting. This is not I mean, it feels formal because it's being recorded and it's online. But normally, if it weren't for the pandemic, we'd be doing this in a location somewhere near the site, and it'll be a small group, and there'd hopefully be a nice chance for an informal give and take after the presentation. And that's still the intent of this meeting. Any formal approvals that would happen are going to happen subsequently. I believe that the timing of that would be, it wouldn't be till next month that the formal city process would begin. June and July is when it would happen with all the different levels of formal approvals. This is an informal chance before it gets to that formal meeting at City Hall. It's an informal chance in the evening for neighbors to review this zoning application. This is This is at 1540 Jefferson. It's sort of it's a bit unusual in that they're not trying to rezone the whole site. They're trying to rezone half the site. So they want to split up half the site. They want to leave the residential zoning in place for townhouses on the southern half of the site, and on the northern half of the site, they want to build a commercial building, and that's what requires the zoning change. So we're going to look at the whole project. I think everyone wants to understand what's going on in context, but technically what they're doing that's different than the current zoning is just the northern half of the parcel. And I'm sure their architect will get into that detail as he goes through the presentation, which I think will just take 10 or 15 minutes. And then at the end, we can do it either way. We have the way to just ask your questions in writing, and either I or Amanda will read those questions aloud. Or if you want to phrase your question yourself, just indicate that by raising your hand or writing it in the question box, and we'll unmute you and call on you at that time. But it's probably better if we save that for the end, because these presentations will not be very long. The whole meeting probably won't take very, very long either, but that really depends on how many questions we have. But with that, I'll introduce Josh Delaney to tell you in general about the project. Go ahead, Josh. Or maybe I should add, well, Josh, now you're unmuted, but I meant to add, we will at the end, as I do at the end of all these meetings, I'll take a straw poll, which is non-binding, but I will report the results. Yes, no, maybe. Yes, meaning definitely do the project. No, definitely don't do it. Maybe meaning yes, but with conditions, and we'll give you a chance to list your conditions. And with only 10 people here, there'll be plenty of time for people to say that if that issue comes up. So sorry, I meant to mention that. Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, pleasure. Great to have everybody on today. Appreciate all of you guys taking time to check out what we're doing, and hopefully you guys, like and approve of it. We think we're doing something really cool here. So again, my name's Josh Delaney. I'll start out by saying I am not a developer, and I'm not a real estate expert. Real estate is not my business. The reason why this project came about was that my wife, our 1-year-old daughter, and myself have been looking for a new home for not only our business, but also ourselves, our family. Coincidentally, we've been living in the North End for years. The North End is our favorite neighborhood. That entire block there is our favorite place to live. I've lived there numerous locations over the last decade, and we currently live there right above Fresh Time as we speak right now. So it's our home, it's our neighborhood. We love it, and we're excited to contribute to it. So we couldn't find anything else kind of in and around the city. This land came about very organically and very randomly, and we decided to kind of kill two birds with one stone by planting our new office there. So that office will be occupied by myself and my businesses, which are internet marketing companies. We don't service clients. We do not service like outside third-party people. So the office building will be fairly quiet, and really all the people that you will see coming in and out of that building, which is literally a handful, will be directly working for myself and my internet companies. So it should be a very tame, area there. We're not having a bunch of traffic in and out. So again, very contained. And again, I'll be on site myself, again, as a part of community and, kind of owner operator. And then with the townhome side, we were going to build ourselves, our dream home, and we had enough space to put in a few more homes. So we came up with the townhome concept. So the very first townhome out of the 4, myself, my wife, and our 1-year-old daughter will also be living. By then she'll probably be 2 something. So we will be occupying the office building and the very first townhome ourselves, again, as a part of the neighborhood and quite literally your neighbors. And then the other 3 townhomes we're going to rent. And so we're excited about being a part of the community, as we have been for years previously. And we wanted to assure you that, again, we are not developers in the sense that we're coming in and trying to kind of disrupt what's going on. We very much are excited about preserving, what we have. We're excited about the green that we're bringing to it in terms of kind of just the aesthetics. And you'll see that here from Jordan, our architects, and the team. But we're just very excited. My wife and I are excited. My team within the office is excited. And we hope that you guys, again, like and, approve of what we're doing here. But the point I wanted to really put across is that I will be an owner operator on site as a part of the community, and looking forward to being your neighbor. And, again, I'm sure I'll be seeing you guys as we stroll up and down the block with our daughter and enjoy the community as well. So having said that, I'll introduce the team that is the development and real estate experts that I found and brought on to kind of do all of the heavy lifting for me, so to speak, and that is design, manage, and advise. They've been with me since back in September, and they've really done a great job getting this all together. That is Steve Wagner, Brian Nelson, Steve Wagner, Brian Fisher, and Jordan Nelson. Jordan's going to be doing the presentation today. They've done a phenomenal job, and again, I couldn't be more excited about what they've put together here, in collaboration with kind of the vision that I had. So I'll introduce Jordan. Jordan is a phenomenal architect. Has really been leading kind of the way that this whole project has looked and how it's come together. And he'll kind of explain what Alderman Kovac was talking about in terms of kind of how we've structured the zoning to fit some parking and just kind of get the building what we needed and fit inside the property the way that we felt it best could. So that is going to be Jordan Nelson doing that presentation for you now. So Jordan, if you are there, you can go ahead and take over.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, Josh. Hopefully everybody can see me, and thank you, Alderman Kovac. Yeah, the screen, what I'm sharing right now is just this is a drone kind of image that we merged together with the new development that we're looking at. But before we go too far into that, I wanted to start with the context of where this property is actually located. Now, this is the Lower East Side neighborhood. Obviously, everybody's a part of that. I just kind of want to refresh everyone's memory on where exactly that's located, and what that neighborhood looks like. Kind of the river is the west edge of that, all the way up to North Avenue, down to Ogden. And here you can see our site that's highlighted in yellow, and that's just above Pick and Save here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. I'm not exactly sure if everyone can, but that is the indication there where the site is. So this is a really nice neighborhood that I actually spent some time playing rugby on the lakefront, right on the edge of this neighborhood. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great architecture that already exists here, and we're trying to add to that neighborhood and the beauty of that neighborhood. So I want to take it in a little bit closer here to kind of see the site in the context. Close to the river, Fresh Times to the northwest of that. Alderman Coffee is to the west, and then we have northeast would be Avante. So we're trying to fit into the context with our architectural, kind of talent and what we can do here to make that really blend seamlessly from the residential, the RT4 district, into some of these other commercial zones. So the site as is right now on Pleasant and Jefferson, there's an existing building there that's 2 stories that it's actually a daycare. So we're proposing to demolish that because it doesn't really fit the needs of what Josh has for his team. We want a new office space. So the clear heights didn't really work out. So we kind of analyzed that at the beginning, and we realized that we'd have to raise this building or demolish it to accommodate the needs. So this is the whole property, the yellow dashed line. And as Alderman Kovac, let everyone know that we're actually going to parcel this off, and we'll see that in a minute here, but I just kind of want to show the extent of the whole site. So here is kind of a superimposed site plan on that site. So this is kind of what we've been talking about. So actually the white part that is a little more white than the masked region below it, we're trying to accommodate parking for the office space and really address that corner of Pleasant and Jefferson to really make the best use out of that and try to really address the public so it feels like a nice area to walk by, and it really complements that corner. So here you can kind of see the extent of that. And we have a more detailed plan, a site plan that we can show that will be in this presentation toward the end, but I just wanted to give an idea of that's what we're looking to do, a 3-story on the corner, about 10,000 square feet. And it's really holding an office, a fitness center on the first floor. That's just kind of like a private gym for the occupants. But so here's that drone kind of image that we rendered together with the architecture that we're proposing. So as you can see here, we're trying to be conscious and pretty respectful to the existing buildings in the neighborhood, and really working back from the RT4 district back into this kind of commercial corner. So that's how we see that. The commercial corner is really what we're looking at for the DPD, and that's where we want the zoning change to accommodate Josh's business and that fitness area on the first floor. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that this is all ADA accessible. We have parking from the back, but we're able to access the building from 3 different locations according to the ADA standard. So we're coming in off of the street, both sides of Jefferson and Pleasant, and off the alley. And here I put some small tags on the building materials so that everybody's kind of aware of what we're trying to utilize for the neighborhood. We're using brick, a king size of white brick, and then a black metal panel. So we think those two materials work really well together and really complement that corner. And some of the other buildings around the area have that similar aesthetic that we're trying to match. So I want to go up a little bit higher here on this image so that everyone could see how that really interacts with the rear parking and the alley. We're proposing some parking off of the alley, and then the townhomes would have rear yards. That would be kind of a buffer between the parking and the townhomes. Then you'd be able to actually, that would give you your ADA accessibility off of the back and the front in those same locations. Now we really wanted to address the street and the urban edge and try to bring in landscaping there and also an outdoor patio so that people walking by, you can have some engagement, maybe you know somebody and maybe Josh invites you up there. But anyway, that's kind of the idea that we're looking at here. Same materials as the last slide. I just wanted to reiterate that so everybody knows it's white brick and black metal panel. This is a street view of the proposed project. Now this kind of shows the whole project, including the townhomes, so you can get a sense of scale from, I guess, like the human scale of what that would be like walking down the street. So I'm going to just pause on this a minute so everybody can kind of see we're addressing that, the urban edge there, trying to, I guess, break it up a little bit with the drives of the townhomes with some of this white brick and adding some nice fencing and landscaping along the whole edge here of the building. Also, obviously addressing those rooftop patios, kind of having this, it almost seems like a nice, a nice fabric that we hope kind of carries through and into some of the other architecture. So this is a close-up view of really what that corner will look like and the landscaping that we're proposing on that corner. So we're hoping this is a nice experience for everybody walking by. The building we hope is aesthetically pleasing and really like fits in with the neighborhood. But you can see here we're proposing a little bit of privacy, but not too much. Kind of just, we really want to be accepting of the neighborhood here. And Josh obviously has been a big part of that with his vision. Living here for many years, he really wanted to, drive that home for everyone. So then we go up onto the top of one of those proposed rooftop patios. It's kind of a nice outdoor dining scenario, could be, but it's all private for the guests and of this building. So it's not like a restaurant or anything in that capacity. It would just be a private outdoor space. This was the plan that I mentioned that we're going to get to, kind of looking at a more detailed version of what the site plan is and that flag kind of shape parcel that we're proposing for the DPD. So you can see here, that's what we need to accommodate the parking requirements for this office space. So that's why we're creating a survey that really works toward that. So you can see here that we're trying to add some parking stalls along the street. And we're really being conscious of trying to address that edge of Pleasant and Jefferson. So hopefully that wasn't, if there's anything, I know I went a little bit quick there, but I wanted to give people time, too quick through some of the images, but that's the extent of the project. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it off, and we can give it open, or I'll give it back to whoever needs to go next. Alderman Kovac.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. You mentioned that you play rugby, but no relation to Jordy Nelson.
No, that'd be great. No,
Okay.
Yeah, I played rugby in college, and I played for the Black and White, down at the lake.
Okay, are there questions from the neighbors? I see there's several people on the line, about a dozen now. Feel free to type them in or raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or if you have a comment. I'm not seeing anything, but I'll give everybody a couple minutes to think it through, or just raise your hand if you want to say something or ask a question.
Larry Hoffman has his hand raised. So Larry, I'm going to click your microphone and you'll have an opportunity to speak. Oh, it says you're self-muted, so you'll have to click the microphone as well, Larry.
There we go. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah, we can hear you, Larry.
Thank you. I don't see where to write something. I don't see on the screen where I would write something.
Well, that's fine. You can just ask your question, Larry. Either way is fine.
Okay, thank you. So you're making a good effort to make the project aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if you're aware that the city and the county are starting a major effort toward preventing climate change. And I'm wondering whether you are going to do your part to prevent climate change by putting solar panels on your building and using high density insulation.
That's a great question, Larry. You know, we're talking to contractors now, and I'm sure you're aware the rise of material costs is rather astronomical. So during our time, which is, you know, coming this week here, as we talk to contractors and look into different types of materials and how we can, you know, not only mitigate costs, but do some use some alternative materials and just alternative ways to, you know, build this thing. We are certainly looking at all options.
Yeah, and I would just like to add to that, Larry, that we are using a high density insulation or, you know, a high R value. The energy codes have become a little more strict in the recent years. So we're aware of that. And yeah, if we can make the solar panels work, that would be great for a cost, you know, kind of analysis for Josh. And I think we'd be open to that. And like Josh said, we're kind of going through that process right now with contractors to see where that comes in.
Thank you. I hope you make that a high priority. I'm also wondering whether your rents are going to be market rate, and if so, will you contribute to housing in less affluent parts of the city?
Yeah, they'll be market rate for what, you know, size and square footage for what we have. The second part of the question, I don't think I personally understand. Again, I'm not the I'm not a real estate expert here. If you could clarify that second question.
Well, I'm not entirely clear on what the process is, but when market rate buildings are built downtown, it seems to me that there is some sort of a provision that can be put into effect to help with other parts of the city that are not getting the kind of wonderful development that is happening here. I don't know if Alderman Kovac or Sam can speak to that.
Well, I'll let Sam weigh in here too. I do think there is a program, there's a city ordinance that requires if we give out significant subsidy, over $1 million of subsidy, there's requirements for local hiring. We've also created some resolutions which the effect of which, or exactly when we would leverage those on large new developments that we subsidize. I don't know that we've done anything. This is how many units? 4? Is it 4?
Just 4, 3 that'll be available because I'll obviously have 1.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sam, can you speak to what the triggers are for those formal requirements? You're on mute, Sam.
Thank you, Alderman Kovac, and the gentleman that asked the question. There are a couple, as the Alderman mentioned, there are certain scenarios where requirements would kick in on the city side for various, you know, contracting and affordability goals. Those are generally always if the city is providing financing. And here, the developer has not asked the city for any financial assistance for this project, just the zoning change for the office portion of it. As they said at the outset of the presentation, the zoning for the site currently would allow this townhouse style development to be built under the current zoning. So the zoning change isn't even to facilitate the housing. The Common Council has also has also passed a resolution that was in the news a lot lately related to downtown development. That specific resolution did call out certain goals that apply to downtown development in the downtown zoning district. This project is outside of that. It's zoned for neighborhood residential. So none of the policies that have been passed by the council or the resolutions that have been passed by the council would apply with this particular project.
Going back to your original question though, Larry, you brought up solar panels we've had a couple of pre-meetings with this team about their plans as they've revised. And most of our discussion was about the design details and the configuration of the lot. But I did bring up the issue of solar panels and of geothermal because there is a project barely a block away that very successfully has employed geothermal. So I don't know I know you were going to reach out to the developer who did the geothermal, Josh. Have those discussions gotten very far?
I am talking with a handful of developers in the area. To be honest, those conversations haven't gotten to who exactly owns which of the buildings, but I have started conversations with 2 of the developers that have done a bunch of stuff there. So I would imagine in our next conversations, I'll kind of start to find out exactly who owns what and what some more of the granular details are.
Okay. Yeah, the building I'm thinking of is on Jackson, and it's Sage, yeah, called Sage, and it's by Dominion. So the Dominion very successfully did the geothermal, although the economics, the economics work better if you have a higher unit count, of course, because what you're doing is you're minimizing your energy bill for, I think in Sage is 20 or so units. So you divide, whatever the energy savings are, multiply by 20. And I think that covered the cost for Sage. Whether 4 units would justify the cost of a 150-foot deep tunnel, I don't know, but I'd be curious to find out and see how practical geothermal can be for these smaller kinds of developments. But certainly geothermal is a very effective way to save on heating costs in the winter and electricity for air conditioning in the summer.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah,
I
those
would-
are
I would
things that
just-
we'll be finding out more of here as we start to get more of the bids from the contractors.
Yes, and I would agree. I think we need to, absorb the changes in material cost here and see where that leaves us. And those numbers will start rolling in soon.
Are there other questions? Or any other hands
Yes,
raised?
Ellen Tangent has her hand raised. She also has a question in the question box, but Ellen, I'll unmute your microphone if you'd like to speak. So I've unmuted you, but if you'd like to speak, click your microphone icon. Or Nick, if you just want to address the question is, are there currently height restrictions on this parcel?
Okay, actually, Amanda, I'm not able to find the questions written out, so you may have to read them now. I'm not able to find them.
Okay.
So the question was about the height. Is this would be a question for DCD potentially? What the current height requirement
Hi,
is?
it's Ellen.
Oh,
Are you
Oh,
there?
hi,
There we go. Ellen's unmuted.
Okay. I was in the wrong screen. I have 3 questions. First, would this be a condominium or separate owner occupied units?
Great question, Ellen. Was it Helen or Ellen?
Ellen.
Ellen, nice to meet you, Ellen. They are going to be 4 individual townhomes, but they'll all be rented. So I will still maintain ownership over all of them. Obviously, again, I'll be living in the first one and be renting out the following 3.
Oh, okay. So it's a rental development. I am the 20-year owner occupant of a historic row house right across the street from the unfortunately tall St. Rita Capri project. I understand from what's been said so far that this project is in compliance on the residential portion with current zoning. So I'm guessing that it's not out of line with any height restrictions.
I don't know. I would say.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can have DCD answer that. My understanding is it's current. The whole thing is currently zoned RT4, which means it's allowed to be residential. I'm not sure exactly what the height is on RT4. I'm sure.
And the
48 feet.
neighborhood concern for those of us in the more traditional older housing stock to the east is that, the Capri project was the thin wedge that's going to plop a lot of ginormous tall buildings all around what is very traditional, long held housing stock. So just putting that in there. Last question, the future commercial use. There are no guarantees on that. Once the zoning changes in, whoever may own or operate that building in the future wouldn't necessarily be under the restrictions you're self-imposing, I guess. And I think that's something to consider when assessing the project on the commercial component. And I guess I would say the whole thing feels commercial to me if it's a collection of rental units with one owner, but.
Well, I'll let, Ellen, those are two great questions. I'll let someone from DCD weigh in with the exact numbers, but the residential doesn't specify if it has to be owner occupied or not. So the rental nature of it, that what the residential zoning does is it limits height and it limits density.
Okay.
But I think to your general question, and I take your criticism about St. Rita's to heart, Ellen.
Like Cassandra on the ramparts, Nick. Still.
Yes.
Still.
I mean, you know that process well. You were at all those meetings, and you know we made some adjustments and set back the upper floors. But yeah, they came in asking for 6 stories, and they got 6 stories, and they tore down a church but replaced it. And anyway, this is not about St. Rita's, but you brought it up, and yes, we acknowledge St. Rita's happened. In contrast, I mean, this is a site where, frankly, we might have gotten a proposal that would be 6 stories, and we'd have to, and that I think would generate a lot more discussion than this has so far. I mean, they're proposing essentially, I think the commercial is, do you want to show that side view again, Jordan, of the height of the commercial versus the height of the townhomes? I'm pretty confident that the height is well under what RT4 would allow as of right. So, and Kristen's nodding her head. So what is the number, Kristen, on the height from RT4?
RT4 allows a maximum height of 48 feet.
And 48 feet. And what is the height on these 2 buildings, Jordan, the commercial and the residential?
Well, I have myself. Yep, I have myself. The townhomes from the grade, it actually is 45 feet. So it's close, but it's not over. So.
And
what
I will
about,
say, even though I sound hostile, I will concede that the way that buildings are placed on the grade, it's less offensive. It really, it tends to minimize the height, you know, as juxtaposed against the older housing to the west.
Yeah, we had a 10-foot
or east, excuse me,
to work with on this property.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, the grade in the back is a little bit higher to the kind of further your point there. We're trying to, put it in the hillside and really address the site and work with the topography the best we can. So yeah, it's really not that high. It's actually like 10 feet less than that. But, actually what you see from the street is about 45 feet, so.
and it looks like the commercial building is about the same height when you factor in the grade, or is it shorter or this?
Oh yeah, it's close to the same height. And I can actually go to the drawings here if that's okay. Let me try.
But Ellen raises a good point, which is, I mean, from a height perspective, if they were going to have this corner building that they're building be 2 more residential units, for instance, then we wouldn't have to have, or we wouldn't, then they could just pull a building permit and do it, I believe, right, Kristen? So it's what is causing this meeting and causing the zoning change is the use. So they're essentially, they're inserting a commercial use into a residential neighborhood. Admittedly, it's a corner that's right on the border of a bunch of other commercial uses. There's a bank across the street, there's a coffee shop across the other street, and kitty corner is Fresh Time, and then across 2 other streets in the sort of jangled intersection there is another restaurant. So that's really in some ways the question that's before us is, do we consider a commercial use here appropriate into what the edge of a residential neighborhood? And Ellen's point is well taken that once this zoning is approved, Josh can sell it to whoever he wants. So what is the list of approved uses in the current DPD? And this is not set in stone. It would just be what's current. Is there a list of approved versus forbidden commercial uses?
I can answer that, and then feel free, development team, to pipe in. The good part about a planned development is that it's a custom zoning. So as part of that, there's 2 components. There's the drawing, so you're approving the site plan, building elevations, building materials. So what you see is what you get. And if they'd want to make any changes to that after the approval, there's a process they'd have to go through for that. In addition to the drawings, there's also a written narrative that basically talks about site statistics, all the filler stuff to support the drawings, but it also establishes a permitted use list. So as part of the zoning, you're crafting your use list. So we have an opportunity to kind of vet that or tease that out with the applicant and, give our opinion, and public give your opinion on, whether the uses they're proposing are appropriate or not. What I've heard so far, the office use, perhaps a small cafe, a fitness center, whether it be for private or public use or both, they all seem like neighborhood serving uses that seem compatible and contextual to the surrounding environment. And those are the uses that we've heard from them so far. And feel free to add in any additional that I might not have said, Josh.
Yeah, no, the entire office space is strictly for our personal use and, again, kind of our little community usage, from tenants in the townhomes and the office. So the amenities that we have built into that office building are like I said, are not of a public in and out, use. So it'll again be very contained and, we're not creating any kind of unnecessary disturbance on that corner. It'll just be the people working there that will have access to those things.
Ellen, if you're still unmuted, are there any uses that would be of concern to you?
No, my concern is more existential. It's the perimeter of a different sort of residential neighborhood and the creep of both size and use that comes incrementally every time one of these changes goes through. The thin wedge problem.
Mm-hmm.
And Ellen, where are you at again? Just out of curiosity?
Pardon me?
Where are you? You're in the neighborhood as well? You will be a neighbor?
Yeah, I'm on the corner of Cass and Pleasant in the 1891 row house right across from St. Rita's.
Awesome. So yeah, right up Pleasant then, right over Van
Yeah.
Buren? Perfect. Yep. Fantastic.
And also, this was a daycare in the past. Was that done through a BOZA variance?
That I don't know the answer to that. I do know it was obviously.
When I researched, I'm not sure when it was put into play there, Alderman Kovac, but it is kind of grandfathered in on RT4, what I read from the zoning district. So as long as it was that use prior, it could stay and remain that use. That's why we had to go with the DPD. So,
Right. So I guess I would say that's also too, for context. This is it's a pretty nondescript two-story building currently that was not historically, at least recent history, residential. So they're not proposing to tear down two houses to build an office in terms of the question about creep or wedging. But it is a change in zoning to essentially permanent commercial zoning for that corner, but obviously not for the portion they've X'd out for the townhomes.
Yeah, and restrictions could significantly address concerns in that regard.
Yeah, or, if you have ideas about what those should be, if you think of them now, you could suggest them, or you could email us and we could.
Sure. I mean, essentially, they're describing, small office use.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the city does have a standard use of things that we generally forbid in these, right? Which are the kind of the noxious uses you might think of, like pawn shops, gun sales.
The why not?
The what? What did you say?
The why not?
Oh, they're about to have their 50th anniversary, Ellen. There's going to be a big block party. I should warn you about that in September, but okay. Have you been having issues with the why not, or just in general?
No, they're just generally,
Okay. Well, I certainly any liquor license would go through a separate approval process.
Oh,
and
no,
I don't know,
absolutely. And I want to be candid, there are 5 units in the condominium that is this row house, and I said I would attend this meeting. But that's really the concern. I hope, hopefully those concerns, we're not trying to be obstructionist, but hopefully those concerns can be addressed, because it really is, the incremental changes that all of a sudden you're surrounded by high rises. That's the concern.
Yeah.
I appreciate that too, Ellen. Again, we plan on being in this area. I've been here for about I'm from Milwaukee, but I've lived in this neighborhood, in a few different areas for about a decade. And then, our kind of vision, I'm 35 years old. We're kind of looking at this like, hey, we want to be here for the next 20 plus years as well. And that was obviously kind of where we bought the land from, from large developers that that was kind of the idea is, hey, we're going to build a much larger, apartment complex on this.
No, I get it. I get it.
We kind of came in and said, hey, we're going to do the exact opposite, because we would rather have, smaller, more quaint family oriented, kind of living here rather than another building as well. And again, we just kind of got, as a resident in the neighborhood who was looking for a house, I got lucky to meet the developers of this place and say, hey, we'll take this. And if you guys aren't going to touch it for a while because you want to build a big building, we'll kind of preserve this area for not a big building kind of thing. So that was something, again,
No,
as a
and if you're in compliance with current height restrictions, I have no reasonable grounds to object. So I fully understand that.
Yeah, it is somewhat unusual to have a DPD that isn't pushing either the height or the density limit, but this one isn't. It's really a use question.
Yep.
Are there other questions that you see, Amanda?
Yes,
appreciate it, Ellen.
the
Thank you
next
so much.
question is from Melissa Koss. She indicates that she has concerns about the townhouse parking, specifically that the driveways cross the sidewalk on Jefferson, which is not common in this neighborhood, and indicates that it changes the walkability of the block, and asks if the team can please comment on this.
Melissa, I have the same objection for the record, and I raised it in our internal meeting. I'll let them address it, but I think their main answer is going to be the grade difference. That's the reason they're not parking from the alley. Is that correct?
Yeah, the biggest difference was the grade. From the back of the townhomes, it's one less story because of the garage, because the garage is actually built into the hill. So we wanted connected garages there. And because of that grade, we're not really able to do that from the back end. You lose a lot of livability that way, or you'd have to go up another story basically to have the garages come in from the front. So it was just, I'll kind of let Jordan speak to the architecture of it, but it was one part being the grade, another part being we wanted, I wanted personally connected garage, and then we kind of followed, again, some of the city and Alderman Kovac's to where we're not actually going to be parking in the driveway. The driveways aren't that deep, so we'll always be in the garage. So, but I do understand that, it'll definitely have to be a kind of a policy within the townhomes, to be fully aware of the sidewalk and pedestrians walking up and down there. Again, I have a small child that, we will be walking up and down that sidewalk on a regular basis as well. So that'll definitely be a priority for us to, make sure the safety of the sidewalk and, our care for that is there. But I'll let Jordan kind of speak to the, the reasoning behind, again, the grade and whatnot.
Yeah, Josh, that's exactly right. It was tough to figure out how, and I'm going to pan to the sections of the townhomes here so you can kind of get a look at that. But when you're looking at one of these townhomes here, you can see that you're coming in at grade on the second level from the rear. So it was a little bit difficult to come through the alley and have the garage. We looked at that, but then we lost a lot of the backyard. So, and we didn't want to bury Josh underground with his family. So we really, it was kind of it was a tough thing, but yeah, we thought this was the best solution, that we could figure out here to maximize the square footage. And it actually works as a retaining wall too, to kind of help the garage, to hold back that earth on the higher side of the topography. So that's why we came to that solution. So yeah, Josh, you're exactly right with the grade.
But Melissa, I do agree with you that having, 4 separate driveways is quite an obstruction, both for losing public parking and for the potential conflicts with people on the sidewalk. And to be perfectly frank, this isn't the only 4 townhouse development to do it. There's one on Humboldt and Wright that did the exact same thing, just east of Humboldt. And the current code allows this. And we're in discussions about whether we should change the code. At the same time, though, I do understand in the case of Humboldt and Wright, there really wasn't, or it would have been hard to get. It often comes down to, it is an issue. Everybody wants if people don't want to have detached garages, how do you get someone into the house without having each car separately crossing the sidewalk? Every site's a little bit different, and I understand the restrictions that they had to go through here, and they've explained it well with the grade change. But I would agree that it's not an ideal result to have 4 driveways, one after the other. It's certainly not unprecedented. It's not just Humboldt and Wright. I mean, you can walk around the city and see lots of driveways everywhere. But generally speaking, when there's alleys, people use the alleys. In this case, the hill is pretty steep. But I definitely acknowledge that as a concern. It's one I still have personally. Melissa, did you have any follow-ups on that?
I don't see her hand raised. Melissa, if you'd like to add anything, just let me know via the hand raise icon.
And I will make this note and disclaimer for any of what will be my future neighbors here. Again, I will be living in the first townhome, so I am a couple door knocks away from letting me know if there was anything we need to make sure to handle from anything pulling in and out of those driveways. So again, I think that's important information that again, I live there and very much care about how we handle this and our reputation there, and again, how we keep that neighborhood safe and easy. And a big part of our mission with this is we really like downtown. My wife is from Florida, and we want to live downtown. We want to raise a family downtown, and that's not always the most ideal scenario in a downtown setting. And so we wanted to create a home that had a backyard, had all this safe space, and that we could actually raise a family in downtown Milwaukee, or in just a downtown city in general. So a lot of those things, we're taking into consideration. And again, we also do agree that the grade was not ideal for us in kind of a multitude of scenarios, but we feel like we came up with the best kind of solution in as much of the property as we could, for that.
And I would also add that by putting all of the surface parking for the commercial along the alley, that's probably the least obstructive place to put it in terms of aesthetics. It's definitely very hidden, the surface parking, which is probably one of our goals. I don't know, Greg, did you have any comments on that from architecture review point of view, the surface parking and the curb cuts?
No, I think one of the positive things is, first of all, the parking will not have that much pervious area, because basically they're utilizing the alley as an access point, so you're not adding extra pervious surface, which is good. You can see the green space that they have behind the townhouses. And I think with the driveways, they're always difficult, but I think actually the fact that they've made a conscious effort, the way the stairs come down and the way there is actually space between the driveways, it's not like there's a big long driveway, you have like a really wide driveway. There's a nice, it's visually, it works out nicer that you have they're sectioned off, their separate drives. I mean, rather than originally they had the driveways combined together, and it made it feel more massive. And I think the way they relayed this out, it has a more pedestrian friendly feel than where it had started. So I think they've made some nice improvements.
And one thing that's not shown here is we've got some great other green additions in terms of the trees that we're planting and things. That's not necessarily on this rendering, that I think is going to really add to the block as well, from a walkability standpoint, and just kind of the beautifying that corner there with really good, exciting greenery to look at, and stuff that really changes with the seasons, and again adds to what's already looks really good there.
Melissa indicated in the question box that she can't unmute, but she said, thanks, I'm all set.
Thank you so much.
We do have another individual, John Endres, has his hand raised. So John, I'm gonna click to unmute your microphone. So John, looks like you're unmuted. John, do you have a question? Oh, it looks like you just muted again.
Audio coming through?
We can hear you just very faintly, John.
That better?
It's a little better. I think I can hear you. Can other people hear him?
All right, a couple questions. By rentals, are you going to have long-term rentals, or this is some more Airbnb that's been hit in the neighborhood?
He just asked if the rentals, are they going to be long-term or Airbnb?
Long-term.
All right, and Sanford's is a beloved business, been there for over 30 years. They've always first lost the Shore West parking lot, and now that you lose yours, have you been in any discussions with them how to make them survive?
I missed the first part. They lost what?
They
Well, I
lost
think
parking. Okay, go ahead,
Sanford
Nick.
had been valet parking in this lot sometimes, John, is that?
Yeah, before that in the far west lot. And then
Right.
Shell built their building.
So Sanford is the restaurant on the corner there,
Yes.
and on Jackson, and I guess he wants to know if you've been in discussion with them about their parking being displaced by your development.
Honestly, I had Dermans, who I bought the property from, never mentioned any deal between Sanford. So this is the first time I've heard of it. So honestly, I had no idea until you just mentioned it. Nobody's brought anything to my attention and wasn't told to me when I bought the place. So honestly, I have no clue. I had no idea.
But I
Yeah,
would say,
Milwaukee.
John, that, oh, go ahead, John,
Yeah.
go ahead.
They are Milwaukee's only 5-star restaurant, so it's not a deal to the neighborhood when you talk about trying to preserve the fabric of the neighborhood.
John, I think that Sanford does do valet, so I would imagine there is plenty of parking, not necessarily on the block anymore, but nearby, and potentially, this is the first Josh is hearing of it, but I would assume that most of his alley spots will be in use during the day, so you maybe could work out a deal with Sanford if they were to approach you for nighttime restaurant use of those alley spots.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at nighttime, if that's the case and was the case, I would have no problem talking to them. Yeah, I would have zero problem with that, depending on what they would need. I think we're gonna have, Jordan can speak. I think we're gonna have maybe 10 to 12 spots, maybe I think 11 spots with a handicap. And yeah, at nighttime, my staff will be gone, and then we'll obviously be parked in the garages. So yeah, those spots should be available. So yeah, as I start to meet more of the neighbors and meet Sanford's there, I'm not opposed to helping them out with that and working out some sort of deal if that's the case. But yeah, I honestly haven't heard anything about that until now. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I have no problem with that at all if we can work something out with them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other hands raised or questions, Amanda?
Yes, Clement asks, when will construction begin and for how long will it last?
I can answer the first part of that, half, and I'll let Jordan take it. So we are currently in discussions with the general contractors. Again, whether some of you are aware or not aware, material costs are through the roof right now. So we're kind of navigating, what that looks like with various bids and contractors now. So the goal would be to start as soon as we can. Having said, once we get, more of these bids in and find out where everybody lands, so my kind of take on it is as soon as we can get those numbers together and get going, in terms of how long that takes and kind of the rest of that first part of the question, I'll let Jordan or Brian or Steve, any of you guys that want to take that over, feel free, please.
Yeah, I could jump in really quick. The expectation is to start construction this in August, probably second to third week of August. And right now we're pending schedules back from the general contractors. I would say 12 to 16 months construction, but more closer to the 12-month cycle.
I would like to move into my new home as soon as possible, is my answer.
And I don't see any other hands raised or questions in the box.
All right, so maybe we'll do the poll now. If people have further questions after the poll, we can do them, but I hate to, we're coming up on an hour, so there might be people who just want to vote and go. And I know I see David Nelson's on. David did send me a comment. You're on the phone, so hopefully you're going to be able to vote, Dave. If not, David did send a comment that he asked me to read. And I believe he's on anyway, but he said that he owns the 3 properties just east of their proposed developments, and he's in favor of the new development. It will improve the empty lot without overburdening the area. Okay to read this into the record, and indicates, I know that there were some issues with Dave logging on, but I think I see him logging on by phone. So that was one comment that came in even in advance of the meeting. So Amanda, do you want to put oh, Dave, go ahead. You want to speak up? Oh, no, that was you thanking Dave. That wasn't Dave. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was, you said thank you, Dave, not this is
No,
Dave.
I said I appreciate you, Dave.
Okay. So,
All right, I'll launch the poll.
okay.
I can't vote.
I think we only let attend.
Only attendees can vote.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have 88% voted. I'm not certain if it's counting individuals that potentially would have already left.
Right, or I look like somebody was logged on twice too, so hopefully they only voted once, so. So 88, what is it? We'll give everybody like 10 more seconds to vote and then we'll tally them up. Oh, and also I just got a text there's a reporter in the house, and for his own ethical obligations, he's not voting, so we're never gonna get to 100, Amanda.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like we have, well, we do it in percentages, but it's probably single digits voting, but 29% yes and 71% maybe. So, but no no's. So that's a significant number of maybes. The people that are voting maybe, do you want to indicate changes you'd like to see?
I'm not seeing any hand raised or any additional questions. Oh, I got one hand from John. Hold on, I'll unmute you. So John, I've unmuted you, but you'll probably still need to hit the microphone button to speak.
Sorry, I don't see where the write-in appears on this thing. I've been looking for it the whole time I was here.
Oh, so you weren't able to vote, John?
No, I did vote, but I thought you keep talking about a write-in and I don't see.
There should be a question, depending on your interface, but on my iPad here, there's a question mark on the top that you would click on, but it's okay. You can talk if you'd prefer.
No, I was just looking for the write-in. There's a question mark somewhere.
On my iPad, there's a question mark. What are the other things it could be?
Or the chat box.
Yeah.
Towards the bottom of your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see chat and question. If you drop down those there, you should be able to type in it.
Yeah, I've been looking for that for this whole session and it's just don't see it. So I guess never mind.
Well, I mean, I would like, given that the maybes won, I'd like to know what the maybes were if people have their, because usually that means yes, but, yeah, or yes, if they do this. So are there changes people would like to see or clarifications people would like that voted maybe?
So Ellen wrote in the comment or in the question box, commercial use parameters.
Okay.
And then Melissa indicated, I'd like considerations to be made for walkability, both during the construction phase with the limitations currently in place because of the Flatiron building and ongoing with the driveways crossing the sidewalk.
Okay, and then obviously Larry also mentioned, I'm assuming Larry voted maybe because he's holding out for solar panels and geothermal, and
Larry does have his hand raised. If you'd like to speak, Larry, you're unmuted.
No, the alderman got it.
Okay. So,
anyone good solar panel dealers, let me know.
And then Ellen added that she concurred with Melissa regarding considerations for walkability.
Okay, so in my notes for things to follow up with before this goes to a formal process next month, the list of commercial use parameters, do's and don'ts there, clarification on the green features, especially solar panels or geothermal, which they've already said they're going to look into, and walkability during construction, and then also permanent walkability, anything they can do to clarify the design, especially on the curb cuts, how they'll make that as safe as possible for pedestrians. That's what I have, I think, from our discussion. Do you have any other notes, Amanda, on things that were brought up for follow-up?
No, I believe that was it, other than Josh indicating that he would try and speak with Sanford's about potential.
All right,
evening
yeah, and then of
parking.
course the issues that John brought up about Sanford parking. Okay, so the developer's obviously here. They will follow up on that. And I'll repeat more or less what I said at the beginning, is that nothing gets decided tonight. The decisions would happen, and I believe the schedule that Kristen most recently emailed me was a June 21st public hearing at the City Plan Commission and a July 20th public hearing at ZND. Is that still right, Kristen? So I will communicate the comments I got tonight. I'll be at both of those hearings, but anyone that feels strongly should attend those meetings in person or let your neighbors know that couldn't attend. We'll also be releasing a video of this on our website since we recorded it. So anyone, really, it's June 21st and July 20th are the public hearings where the actual decisions will get made. You don't have to come to those hearings. If you feel strongly about it, you can also email my office any specific questions or concerns you have between now and then. And other than that, I think we're at about exactly an hour here, and I want to thank everybody for their time and enjoy the 1 hour of daylight we still have on this slightly too chilly early May evening.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate everybody's feedback and commentary.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
everyone. I'm going to end it now. Thank you.